Namaste and good morning, everyone. Let's start our Sunday class with some prayers first. Om Parthaye Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayan Swayam Vyasen Gratitam Puran Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritvarshine Bhagavati Mashtadashadhyayane Amutvam Anusandhame Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshine नमोस्तु ते व्यास विशाल बुद्धे फुल अरविंद आयत पत्र नेत्र येन तव्या भारतैल पूर्णः प्रज्वलितो ज्ञानमया प्रदीपः परपान पारिजाताये तोत्र वेत्र एकपाने ज्ञान मुद्राये कृष्णाय गीता अमृत दुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोगदा गोपाल नंदना पार्थो वत्सा सुधीर भोगता दुग्धम गीता अमृतम महत् वसुदेव सुतम देवम कंस चानूरमर्दनम देवकी परमानंदम कृष्णम वंदे जगद्गुरुम भीष्म द्रोण तटा जयद्रथ जला गांधार नीलोत्पला शल्य ग्रावती कृपेन वाणी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थाम विकर्ण घोर मकरा दुर्योधन अवर्तनी सो तीर ना खलु पांडवई रन नदी के वर्तका केशवा पाराशर्य वत्सरोजमलम गीता अर्थगंधोटकम नानाख्यानक केसरम हरि कथा संबोधन अबोधितम लोके सज्जन षटपदय रह पेपिये मानम मुदा भूयाद भारत पंकजम कलिमल प्रध्वंसी न श्रेयसे मूकम करोति वाचालम पंगुम लंघ्यते गिरिम यत्कृपातमं वंदे परमानंद माधवम यम ब्रह्म वरुण इंद्र रुद्र मरुताः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यस्तवे वेदे सांगपद क्रमोपनिषदे गायन्ति यम सामगा ध्यान अवस्थे तद्गतेन मनसः पश्यन्ति यम योगिनो यस्यन्तं न विदुसुर उसुरगना देवाय तस्मै नमः. Okay, let's open our books. Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter. We ended our last week's class with verse number 68. And in the last couple of verses, we have seen that Lord Krishna is encouraging us to share this wisdom with others also. But at the same time, he says, look for the qualifications in the person you are trying to share to. That's why in verse number 67, he said, this is never to be spoken by you to one who is devoid of austerities or devotion, not to one who does not render service, not to one who desires not to listen, not to one who cavils at me. So we got to be very careful. We don't want to force this knowledge on anybody. And if a person is not ready, you are wasting your own time. But now in verse number 68, where we ended our class, he said, he who with supreme devotion to me will teach this supreme secret to my devotees shall doubtlessly come to me. So he is encouraging us to share it because this is what God wants. Everybody to walk on the path of Dharma. Keep on purifying our mind and intellect. Keep walking towards him. That's what he wants. Now let's start the class with verse number 69 today, where Lord Krishna is expressing that he loves such a teacher much more than anyone else. न च तस्मात् मनुष्येषु कश्चित् मे प्रिये कृतमः भविता न च मे तस्मात् अन्या प्रियतरा भुवि. No means not, ch means and, tasmat. Therefore, manusheshu, among men, kashchit, any, may of me, priye kritmaha, one who does dearer service. Priye krit, krit means the action. Bhavita shall be, no means not, ch means and, may of me, tasmat, then he, anya, another, priyetara, dearer, bhuvi, on the earth. So Lord Krishna is saying, nor is there any among men who does a dearer service to me, nor shall there be another on earth dearer to me than he. So he is encouraging us to spread this idea among our people. Got to carry the torch of knowledge. The torch of knowledge which gets lit at the Guru's feet, we got to carry it far and wide. Wherever we go, carry it with you. This is called the Vidyadan. Vidyadan. This is a duty of a student. Because we are not supposed to just hoard the knowledge which we learned. We got to share it with others. So that's why Lord Krishna is saying that such a person can reach him very easily. That means reach the goal. And then he says, such an individual is dearest to my heart. I find none equal to him in the world. Not only is there none to compare with him among the present generation, but there shall never be anyone, even in the future times also. So it should encourage us to sincerely and honestly try to live the principles of Bhagavad Gita in our life. Because in order to teach someone, first we have to practice them too. And of course, we all want to be dear to God. And over here, he says, dearest to me. Now, in the next verse, we see that not only the teacher, but even the student is congratulated. Because we are all students also. Verse number 70. Adhyeshate chaya imam dharyama samvadam avyo Gyan yagyen ten aham ishtaha syam iti memati. Adhyeshate, shall study. Cha means and, ya who, imam this, dharmyam, sacred, samvadam, dialogue, avyo, of ours. Gyan yagyen, by this sacrifice of wisdom. Gyan yagya. Ten means by him, aham I, ishtaha, worshipped. Syam, shall have been. Iti thus, may my mati, conviction. And he who will study this sacred dialogue of ours, by him I shall have been worshipped by the sacrifice of wisdom. Gyan yagya. Such is my conviction. Again, this is spoken by Lord Krishna. So he is glorifying the students who are studying this sacred texts. This is the charm of Bhagavad Gita. Even when we study one shloka or one page, one chapter, we are just putting all those good qualities in us, which you can live by. In our scriptures, the yagya, they fall under 4 distinct categories. The yagya. It's very hard to explain what yagya is. That's why sacrifice is closest to it. And that's why you often see that the translation of yagya as a sacrifice. So that means you're sacrificing something which you think it's yours for the benefit of others. That's a sacrifice. The first category of sacrifice or the yagya is rituals. That's a yagya too. Rituals which we do. It could be the daily prayer. It could be the doing the fire ceremony. Those are all rituals, which is called a vidhi. Then there is a yagya which is called jap. Repeating the name of God. It's helping the person who is repeating, and it's helping the atmosphere also. Jap. That's why it becomes a yagya. Third one is called upamsaha. You're whispering. Whispering the name of God. Not repeating loudly, but very softly whispering, but your mind is connected and you are sending those vibrations into the atmosphere. And the fourth one is called manasaha, mental. When we are working on our mind. So this Gyan Yagya, which is talking about, falls under this last category. Manasa, Gyan Yagya. You are putting the knowledge into your mind, getting rid of the darkness. So normally in a yagya, we invoke the fire. Over here, we are invoking the fire of knowledge so that we can burn our negative tendencies, our own false values. That's why it's called a Gyan Yagya. So this is the significance of the metaphysical phrase, Gyan Yagya. And Lord Krishna is declaring here that those who study the Gita, contemplate upon it, like its meaning, because only then it becomes manasaha. It's not just reciting only, but you got to reflect upon the meaning. Understand it thoroughly. And those who can sacrifice their own egocentric misconceptions about themselves, or even the world around them, are certainly the greatest devotees of the infinite. We all know that there's a subtle difference between reading and studying. Okay? So reading is like a casual reading. Reading is mainly an attempt to satisfy our curiosity. What is it written? What is there? But the process of study is not only a thirst to understand the theme, but it's a hunger. Hunger that you want to, after understanding all this, you want to perfect yourself. And that can happen only after you reflect upon it. That's why Bhagavad Gita is studied, not just read. It's almost like if you have something with a rust on it, either you dip it in the chemical and wash it away, or you can burn it also and wash the rust away. That's why this Gyan Yagya is that fire which burns all our negative tendencies. And we get to know who we are. Our personality, when reacted with the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, will let go of the wrong tendencies. We will wash away our unhealthy vasanas, false sense of ego. Because that false sense of ego has arisen from the false knowledge of Vidya, Agyan. All get burnt up with the right knowledge, the Gyan. We get to know who we are. That is the power of the wisdom of Bhagavad Gita. And in the next verse, we see Lord Krishna is indicating that even a listener will find some benefit. Just listening alone. Because after listening, you will definitely like to study. When you study, you will like to live up to those values. But he says, hey, be a listener at least. Shraddhavan anusuya cha shrinuyat api yanara sa api mukta shubhan lokan prapyunat punya karma nam. Shraddhavan, full of faith. Anusuya, free from envy, malice. Anasuya. Cha means and, shrinuyat, listen. Api also, ya means who, nara, a human being. Sa he, api also, muktaha, liberated, shubhan, auspicious or happy. Lokan, worlds, prapnyunat, shall obtain. Punya karma nam, of those righteous deeds, pious deeds. A person also who hears this, but then he puts a condition over here, full of faith and free from malice. He too, liberated, shall attain to the happy worlds of those auspicious deeds. So if the study of the Gita is really to fulfill our spiritual unfoldment, Lord Krishna says, start listening to it at least. But two conditions. First one is full of faith, Shraddhavan. Throughout Bhagavad Gita, we've been learning this term Shraddha. It's a Sanskrit word, usually translated as faith, actually means much more than that. It is that faculty in the human intellect which gives it the capacity to dive deep into and discover the subtler meaning. So it's a very intense part of our personality, faith. Because there's so much declared in the scriptures. Without faith, we really cannot dig deeper into the scriptures. Faith is the one which helps the individual to absorb that understanding into his own intellect. So Shraddha is that faculty in our intellect, in our buddhi, which really helps us to understand the subtle import of the sacred words. So Shraddha is needed. With Shraddha, we can absorb all that which is written in the script. It also. And with Shraddha, we learn to live up to those very same ideals. So Shraddha is needed. Naturally, listening to the Lord's discourses can be fruitful only to those who have developed this Shraddha. And the second condition he puts, free from malice, anasuya. Our intellect can achieve the ideals which are preached in the Bhagavad Gita only through the sense organs. And those ideas eventually reach the intellect. But they get filtered through the mind though. Because we hear from our ears or read through our eyes, then they get filtered through the mind, they reach the intellect. So intellect should have the faith, but the mind should not have any malice towards that philosophy or the philosopher, the arguments, or even the goal which is indicated. So if you don't have any malice, only then it will appeal to our intellect. Otherwise, we'll discard it. That's why it's often said that a student of religion must learn to keep an open mind, not to condemn the philosophy before understanding. With an open mind, try to understand it first. After understanding, if it's not for you, sure, you can discard it. Freedom is there. We'll see that Lord Krishna is giving this freedom to even Arjuna. But first, he has been telling him that pay attention, listen carefully. I'm telling you all this for your good. So a person who has attentively listened to the Gita, who has intellectually absorbed and assimilated the knowledge, Lord Krishna says, he will get liberated too. Liberated? See, liberation has several levels. A person can be liberated from the state of confusion. That's a liberation. Sorrow, entanglements, bondages. That's how a person reaches that state of inner tranquility and happiness. This is what he's promising us. He says, Shubhan Lokan. And Shubha means a joy also, the joy which is inside us. Kingdom of joy lies within all of us. Our soul, the Atma, is nothing but joy. We are just running into the outer world to look for the joy, while the joy is right here. In fact, happiness and sorrow both are within us. We create our own sorrow. But he is teaching us how to get rid of the sorrow and get in touch with this joy. Because it's the duty of the teacher to see that the student understands the great goal and the path completely. It is the duty of the teacher to find out ways and means of making the student discover his own balance. Now, in the next verse, Lord Krishna is asking Arjuna a question. Verse number 72. Kaschit etat shrutam partha tavya ekagrena chetasa kaschit agyan samoha pranashtaha te dhananjaya. Kaschit, whether etat, this shrutam, heard, partha, that is Arjuna, tavya, by you, ekagrena, with a concentrated mind, single-pointed mind, chetasaha, mind, kaschit, whether, agyana samoha, the distraction caused by ignorance, pranashtaha, has been dispelled or destroyed. Te means your, Dhananjay is another name used for Arjuna. Lord Krishna says, has this been heard, O Partha, with a single-pointed mind? Has the distraction caused by your ignorance been dispelled, O Dhananjay? It is natural for the teacher to inquire whether the student has grasped the subject or not. It's almost like when doctor has done some procedure. Even the doctor knows, he is confident that everything has went well. But he will ask the patient, how are you feeling now? How are you feeling? This is exactly what Lord Krishna is doing to Arjuna over here. Because Arjuna is his disciple. He is giving him a chance to say how much he has benefited from the discourses. That's why this is a question. Have you been listening with attentive mind? So this question itself implies that if you have been attentive, you must have understood sufficiently the logic in the things, beings, happenings around. Or also, what is your relationship with this physical world, with this material world? The teachings of Bhagavad Gita broadens our vision. We start recognizing in a new light the same old scheme of things. We don't have to change anything. We are living in the same house and we are detached. We live in the same body. But now we know for sure that I'm not the body. You start seeing that light in the other people also, which you see the light who you are. So the same old scheme of things around us, but vision has changed. The previous ugliness gets lifted. All the fear, envy, darkness, it just gets lifted away with this help of this light. Then he says, has your distraction of thought caused by ignorance been dispelled? Because the false values that we entertain distort our vision of the world, our judgment of its affairs, the delusion of our mind, which Arjuna had it too. In the opening chapters of this great scripture, with all this wisdom, Lord Krishna, what did he try to do? He tried to get rid of those negative notions, negative values, negative understandings from his mind. It's almost like if there's a septic toe. In order to save the body, a surgeon will amputate that toe. And it's not a crime. On the contrary, it's a life-giving blessing. It's not a toe destroyed, but it's a body which got saved. At the time of Mahabharata, there was a cultural crisis egged by the Kauravas. That's why Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna to raise your arms, fight against this adharam. Arjuna was called upon by the era to champion the cause of the dharam. Because often people criticize Lord Krishna that he is encouraging Arjuna to wage a war. People forget to see the complete picture. So the fundamental cause of all confusions was his own non-apprehension of the reality. See, Arjuna also forgot at that time because he got deluded too in the middle of the war when he saw his elders standing on the other side. And he knew that even on his side, in a war, people will die. He got fearful. He got confused. So Lord Krishna had to remove that confusion. And that's why he's asking him, has your distraction of thought caused by ignorance been dispelled or not? Now Arjuna is answering this question in the next verse. Nashtaha moha samriti labda tavat prasadat maya achyut sthita asmi gat sandeha krishye vachnam tav. Nashta means destroyed. Moha, delusion. Samriti, memory. Labdha has been gained. Tavat prasadat, through your grace, Maya by me, Achyut, Krishna. Sthita, firm, Asmi, I am. Gata sandeha, freed from doubts. Krishye, will do. Vachnam, word. Tav, your. Destroyed is my delusion. As I have now gained my memory through your grace. So that means it was not just only the lecture of Lord Krishna. Arjun is recognizing that it's your grace that dispelled my ignorance. Destroyed is my delusion, and as I have now gained my knowledge, my memory through your grace, O Achyut, I am firm, he says. My doubts are gone. I will do according to your word. So very confidently, firmly, he says, I will do whatever you are telling me to do. And what was Lord Krishna telling him to do? Do his duty. And he even told him how to do the duty too. So that means Arjun has regained self-recognition, confessing that his confusion has ended. I have gained a recognition of my real nature. And that's where the grace is. Grace. Such a revival within and a rediscovery of our personality are possible for all of us. Only if we truly understand the significance of the philosophy of Gita. That infinite nature of perfection is our own. This mighty being within ourselves is now lying veiled beneath our own arrogance, our egocentric confusions, fears. So we got to just to peel it away. It's right there. This is the newfound equilibrium which can take the birth out of wisdom. But that wisdom has to be unshakable for us also, the way it is unshakable for Arjun right now. Foundation has to be firm. All the doubts and the despairs and the dejections and the hesitations of our mind, all the fears and the weaknesses, we have to leave that behind. Gata sandeha. No more doubt, firm faith. With such a revived personality, when we evaluate our situation, we will not find any difficulty, just like Arjun is not finding any difficulty performing his duty exactly the way he should. That's why he very openly declares over here, I will do according to your word. So he will no more listen to the whisperings of the lower mind of his, which was confused, fearful. The mind which was misguiding him, mind which was creating agitations in him. He says, I'm not going to listen to that. I will listen to you now. Krishye vachnam tav, I will do as you say. This is called surrender. To surrender ourselves to our own higher intellect, and then declaring it confidently with faith that I shall do thy bidding. In fact, that is the beginning of a spiritual life. Now, Arjun, with this, he's ready to fight. Lord Krishna, he ended his discourse also. The rest of the Bhagavad Gita, a small portion, few verses, we see that how Sanjay is going to glorify the Arjun also, and of course, the Lord Krishna. And this divine song also, Bhagavad Gita itself. And whom is he telling? He's telling all this to that blind king Dhritarashtra. Even at this point, he's hoping that king will change his mind. But as we all know, he never did. But we will finish up next week. Let's do the Shanti part. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much. And I'll see you next week.